stupid face on this. Yep.
Excellent.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Speak like you're at choir in church. Perfect. You're in good shape. You already done this before. Yeah, come on. You do this like at every game.
Did I? Oh yeah, we did. So I was like that. I just talk like that. Okay.
All right. Yeah, we're good.
Jake's like, wait, I didn't do it.
Whenever you're ready.
Action. Cool. Ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We are delighted to be here alongside of Tom Schreiber, Kathleen O'Connor, and Jake Rudd, who we'll hear from in just a little bit, live from Nick's house. Nick's house, if you haven't been made aware, is an amazing guest family home operated by the Headstrong Foundation, which provides complimentary lodging for patients and their families that are displaced in the pursuit of life-saving cancer treatment. My name is Pat Calalori, and I humbly serve as Chief Marketing Officer for the Headstrong Foundation, but more importantly, I'm Nick Calalori's brother. And this evening, we have an amazing opportunity that we wish to share with lacrosse clubs, boys and girls, high school youth teams from across the country. We're very proud to announce the National Lax-Off Against Cancer. This is a campaign that our organization has been in development of for the past year, as we thought it could be a wonderful way for programs nationwide to support the cause, to incorporate a community service platform into their organizations and empower their players and their families to support real families living and overwhelmed by the realities of cancer. The Headstrong Foundation is an organization that is committed to helping families overcome by the disease, working directly with them, holding their hands in the darkest days of their life, and making sure that that they have every opportunity to pursue the most advanced treatments and do so in the most quality of life. Providing normalcy for families is at the heart of this organization. And tonight, you're going to hear from people in our sport who have been affected by the disease, who are living with the disease, and people who are overcoming their challenges with cancer. This is an organization that means the world to me and to so many lacrosse players nationwide. One of them is a very dear friend, a supporter, someone who I consider a great friend, and someone who truly believes in the philanthropic vision of the Headstrong Foundation, and that is Tom Schreiber.
Thanks, Pat. Just to give a little recap on my involvement with the organization, with Headstrong. First introduced to Headstrong as a whole in college at Princeton when I played for Coach Chris Bates, who tragically was impacted by the disease with his wife, who had passed while I was a junior in school. And I know in talking to Pat that Coach Bates was a big supporter early on, and I know he recruited Nick pretty hard. Yeah. Unfortunately, didn't get him at Drexel. Went over to Hofstra, but I don't think Coach Bates discriminated nonetheless. But so that was my initial introduction to the organization. And after graduating, Pat and I reconnected, and I think I was my title, I believe, was spokesperson after my rookie year, and we were a part of a few different campaigns and rocked the lime green laces in games, and were able to raise some money, and I grew a pretty pathetic mustache as part of Lax-Stash, and able to kind of raise some funds there. But since then, this past January, Pat and I again ran into each other at the convention down in Baltimore, and ended up speaking for close to an hour. I think anyone who's ever been to the convention knows that you see a million people, and it's kind of just like a a quick meet and greet, and hey, how you doing? What's going on? And for whatever reason, 45 minutes, an hour later with Pat, still completely dialed into what was going on, and that's because he was telling me the vision of this new campaign, telling me about where we are today at Nick's house, which just being here and meeting Kathleen and meeting Jake and kind of hearing the vision behind this thing and physically being here is a pretty cool feeling, and amazing, kind of feel to it. And I know that the cameras can't see it, but a picture of Nick over here is, I think you guys as his family members should be pretty damn proud of his legacy and what's going on here. And, so again, backtracking a little bit, going into the vision behind this campaign, and I think it fits nicely with what's kind of going on in lacrosse as a whole right now. And I think it's important. I'm lucky enough to be around youth lacrosse a fair amount in coaching, different events, and fans playing and whatnot. And everyone's trying to get recruited to play lacrosse, so everyone's super dialed in on how they're doing as a player. And I love the extra work and the dedication, the drive to be a great player. But then what comes along with going to college and going to the next level is having great academics as well. So I think we're starting to see in the club lacrosse world, club teams focusing on, one, the development, obviously, and being a better lacrosse player. But two, you're starting to see some tutoring services and stuff like that to kind of cover that base. So the combination between athletics and academics. And then, I think what's arguably more important here is the third piece, which is your character and how you're being involved in the community. And look no further than Headstrong within lacrosse as someone who's doing something great in the community. And one of the points that Pat kind of drove home with me originally is just, I don't think you can find anyone who hasn't been, whether directly or indirectly, been affected by this disease. And I think it is really important to hear stories like Nick's, to hear stories like Kathleen's and Jake's and other people. I just heard it 10 minutes ago and on a very limited basis, and you can't help but be inspired by it. And I think it's important, one, to get those stories out, and two, to do something about it. And then that's where Headstrong comes in, and that's where this campaign will come in. And I know you'll get into the logistics and details of it, but I do think that this will give club programs and as a byproduct, club players and their parents and their families a chance to kind of come together as one and try to accomplish something collectively. And that is guys trying to get recruited, youth players, men's, women's, whatever it is. Everyone's working towards something, and I really do think it's a fantastic cause. And when kind of Pat gave me the opportunity to be an ambassador for it, I kind of jumped at the chance. And I just want to stress how important it is to one, be a great lacrosse player and be a great student, but number three, for these club programs to also develop character, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah. So from a development standpoint, we were in search of creating an opportunity that was complementary in nature, collaborative at its root. And what we were striving to do is try to find a unique way to entwine the philanthropic mission of the Headstrong Foundation into lacrosse clubs nationwide. And the idea of competition and trying to do something that was new in the event space certainly posed challenges. We've built some amazing relationships with event companies and lacrosse clubs throughout the country. And everyone asks a similar question: how can we get involved? What can we do? How can we champion this mission? And so the idea stemmed from the sheer interest. And so coming up with a way to leverage technology as a mechanism for raising funds and helping advance the mission to support families directly became certainly at the heart. Leveraging technology as a vehicle. One thing that we at Headstrong specialize in and are focused on is incorporating technology in social media into all of our awareness fundraising campaigns. We've done so over the past 9 years with Lax-Madness and others like Go Lime and our Pledge It campaign. So with that being said, one thing that we've learned over the years is the idea of creating competition. At the end of the day, we're athletes. And as athletes, we love to compete. And so this is a great way that lacrosse clubs can go head-to-head against each other off the field through a virtual bracket tournament. The dynamics of a lacrosse tournament, but taking place on social media. So something that really connected and resonated with me, and especially with so many others, was how collectively we can promote a consistent message of standing up and making a difference for families who have been overcome by this disease, and using our network as a mechanism, and also competing against other clubs across the country. So today is really a call to action. Today is an opportunity to engage boys and girls lacrosse clubs, high school competitive clubs, and youth programs to get behind this initiative. And really how this will play out is the Lax-Off Against Cancer, okay, will be starting June 1st and running through July 22nd. This 6-week campaign will pair lacrosse programs in 72-hour online fundraising competitions. So while you're playing in a tournament in Maryland and your team is based out of New York, you're going to be going against teams from all across the country. And the teams with the largest incremental fundraising progress during that 72-hour time frame will continue and advance. Survive and advance is really the name of the game, and how apropos for a campaign that's rooted in the fight against cancer. I certainly think that this is something that our families, our clubs, and our players will find very simple. How do we raise funds using this platform? It's really simple. Through our online platform, which you can find and register today at www.laxoffagainstcancer.org. What you'll be able to do is within 2 minutes, create a secure online fundraising page that can be fully customized for your club. That unique URL is simply shared with your players and families. And at the time of competition, you will then use your social media platform as a vehicle and a mechanism by embedding your unique URL alongside of content and assets provided by the Headstrong Foundation so that you can compete. People are encouraged to make donations, reoccurring gifts, and also offline contributions through service, fundraising, and whether it's a car wash or whether it's a change drive or a 50-50 at a tournament, those type of things with the consent of the operators. What we can and have the ability to do is to make a difference. And today, this campaign gets underway, and we have the next 6 weeks to promote it, to drive it, and to get as many lacrosse clubs across the country dialed in and involved. So over the course of that 72-hour period, what will happen is that players and their families will use their social media channels to raise funds. And at the conclusion of each round, we'll evaluate the club with the largest incremental fundraising gain. That club will advance and will continue to advance. And the club remaining at the end of this thing will be named our national champion of giving, the highest honor bestowed on a lacrosse program from a philanthropic and community service standpoint. One of the things that I think is incredibly important is showcasing and sharing the prevalence of cancer in our community, especially that of our lacrosse community. And when I think about the realism of cancer and how it affects us, and incredible stories of hope, there are two amazing people that come to mind. These are Kathleen O'Connor and Jake Rudd. And just in a moment, you're going to hear about their inspirational journey through cancer and how they're fighting back. Over this journey, the Headstrong Foundation has assisted more than 15,000 families living with cancer. We've played a role allocating more than $13 million in direct assistance. We're collaborating with hospitals across the country, and most notably, Nick's House. At this moment, we have 4 families living here at Nick's House. This home that we stand in and sit in will provide more than 2,500 nights of complimentary lodging to families across the country displaced in the pursuit of life-saving care and treatment, clinical trials, and bone marrow transplants and stem cell transplants, etc. With that being said, this home will relieve families of more than 1.25 million in support annually. And much of this is in part to the generosity of the lacrosse community, because at Headstrong, we're committed to being that difference. Now, I'd like to take a moment to share a quick story. 2 years ago, we had the honor and privilege to meet a very special young woman by the name of Kathleen O'Connor. Unfortunately, it was cancer that brought us together. Kathleen learned of her diagnosis and fought relentlessly. Interestingly enough, she was the recipient of the Nicholas E. Calalori Award at our Limelight Gala 2 years ago, and shared with us even more about her journey. There was some incredible parallels between her fight and my brother's, including the diagnosis and the number that she wears as a member of the Villanova University women's lacrosse team. One of the more inspirational things that have come about is that through her journey, she's continued to keep the sport that she loves close to her heart and has continued to play throughout her treatment process. And she certainly serves as an inspiration to everyone in our sport and beyond. So could you be so kind, Kathleen, to share your story?
I would love to. Hi, everyone. Like Pat said, I'm Kathleen O'Connor. I'm a member of the Villanova women's lacrosse team. So my journey started the fall of 2016, where I started feeling some random shoulder pain on my left shoulder. I thought it was from playing lacrosse or running or moving into my apartment, just something random. The pain kind of felt to subside over a couple weeks, and I started seeing our sports doctor, our trainer, just kind of trying to do physical therapy for it. And then over the course of a couple weeks, I started getting fevers, the pain got worse, and one of my lymph nodes actually popped up on my collarbone. So instead of getting an MRI, I actually had to get an ultrasound and a chest x-ray. And a whirlwind of around 24 hours, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's anaplastic large cell lymphoma. It was definitely a shock to everyone around me. I was entering uncharted waters that I had no idea what was going to happen. But it really leaned on people for support, like the Headstrong Foundation and my teammates and family. So my treatment plan called for, it was 6 cycles, and I went in for 5 days at a time, and I would go home for 16. And I was supposed to spend around 30 days in the hospital total, but I had had a complication between every treatment. So I ended up spending around 60 or 65 days. I had to take off from school, obviously, with all the school that I missed. I was way behind in everything. I redshirted for lacrosse. And then I came back to school in the end of January of 2017, ready to start working out again and try and get back on the field for the following year. I worked really hard in the spring and the summer to get back into, top physical shape to be able to play again. And I found myself as a captain of the team this year and as a starter on defense. So I played all fall. I felt great. We had some great tournaments. We played in the Headstrong tournament again, which was for a great cause, obviously. And then this past January, I started to feel a little bit sick again. I wasn't really sure. I was like, maybe it's just a virus, or I wasn't sure what was going on. I felt really out of breath when I was playing. I felt very drowsy and just not myself. So my trainer and our sports doctor ended up moving up my routine scans a couple of weeks, and those proved that I had relapsed, unfortunately. But this treatment called for a different regimen where I just had to take a pill twice a day. So I didn't have to go through chemo. I didn't have to leave school. And most importantly, I was able to play lacrosse and continue to do what I love every day. So I've been on this pill since January, and I just recently went into remission last week. So we got some good news there that it worked. And I'm still staying on that medicine indefinitely, but I don't feel too many side effects. I'm able to play, and we're able to keep our season going with it ending this week. Actually, we're sad to see it go, but we had a really great year this year, and we're excited to see where our program is headed.
That's amazing. Just an incredible story of perseverance, never giving up, and facing adversity, and certainly a champion in the fight. And we are delighted and honored to call you part of the Headstrong Foundation and a spokesperson, if you will, for this wonderful initiative and new campaign. I hope that, like me, many of you take from Kathleen's story and keep it close to your heart, knowing that this is a reality that faces more than 1.6 million families each and every year. Our thoughts are with so many of them, and we're certainly doing our part to serve as many of those families as we can possibly help. And I think what you'll find with our service and what we do from a philanthropic standpoint and from our mission is really crafted on the direct needs of patients and families. And I think that, that's one thing that makes Headstrong so special, is that we understand all too well the realities of this disease. We've lived it. We know what it's like to swallow our pride and ask for help. And as a result, we've certainly been an ambassador for, the disease, for families, and trying to just bring to light, the challenges that families, face and the difficult circumstances that they're backed into. With that being said, the Headstrong Foundation serves families of all cancers, and not just blood cancers, even though, that's what my brother Nicholas had, and that's what unfortunately Kathleen has been dealing with. But with that being said, the reality is that when families are impacted, despite the actual diagnosis, the struggle is consistent and the same. And with that being said, anytime our worlds collide, we always make it a point to really get involved. And within the past 2 years, I've had the honor and privilege to befriend the Rudd family and their son, Jake. Jake continues to be a source of inspiration to lacrosse players and others across the country. His desire to return to the playing field is something that leaves a chip on my shoulder and continues to inspire me to be really the best ambassador and champion for this cause, as I know I and we can be. Jake's story was one that I had learned from dear family friends, the Galucci's, and he's a part of the Thunder Lacrosse program. And for the past 2 years has been affected by Ewing's sarcoma, a type of bone cancer. Jake is now 15. He's undergone procedures that have set him up for hopefully success for the rest of his life. And the desire and hope is for Jake to get back out onto the playing field at some point. And I came across the video recently of Jake hitting the wall with, in a wheelchair. And it brought me to tears, because this is a young man who is dealing with an awful lot. And we're so honored to call him, again, a partner in our fight and part of this campaign. I want to take a moment and introduce Jake Rudd to share his experience with cancer.
My name is Jake Rudd, and I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma in April of 2016. During lacrosse practice, I was feeling a lot of leg pain, and I thought I just hurt a muscle or something. But it turns out that when we went to the doctor, they saw a tumor on my femur, and one thing led to another, and I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a rare form of bone cancer on my right femur. And I went through 16 weeks of intensive chemotherapy. And then after, I had a big 13-hour surgery on my right leg. And then after a few weeks of recovery, I went back to another 16 weeks of chemo. I'm still recovering from that one original surgery, along with 2 other surgeries that I've had the past year to help my leg heal. I've been non-weight bearing for nearly a year and a half, and I've been I've been able to crutch around and be active. Headstrong is very inspirational to me and my family because of all the hard work that they do, and to help families like mine, whose world was absolutely struck by this terrible disease. I remember one time when I got home from a surgery, there was a big package full of Headstrong merchandise and a very encouraging handwritten letter. And it was just very inspirational and really kind. And I'm just really excited to be part of this campaign for club teams all over the country to compete to raise money for such a good cause.
Thank you so much, Jake. I know it's difficult at times to share your experience publicly with so many. And I can tell you that we're all better for knowing you. We know that you're going to get back out onto that field soon enough. And we know that lacrosse players, as I told you earlier, are truly finding hope and strength in who you are. You know, again, this campaign means so much to so many. And, you know, we are absolutely delighted to be able to sit here today and introduce this to you all. You know, this is a new tournament concept. It's intended to provide boys and girls lacrosse clubs with a philanthropic layer and allow clubs the ability to strengthen their commitment to the development of the complete student athlete. We looked at this as really a value-added opportunity for lacrosse clubs to be able to, if they haven't had a service layer, an opportunity to do so. You know, the hope is to provide prospective student athletes with a philanthropic activity to fulfill community service requirements, as well as collegiate prerequisites, and just an opportunity to do good. All of the participants will receive special prizes and certificates of merit for their efforts. And we are just absolutely honored and thrilled to be able to introduce something new, something exciting. This is a chance to, you know, embrace technology in a new way and apply it to the tournament space, if you will, and, you know, complement the efforts of club directors nationwide and club tournament organizers as well. You know, we're certainly delighted to have the support of media outlets like Inside Lacrosse, who is actually with us today and are going to be, you know, facilitating our Q&A. But at the end of the day, the prizes and things that are, you know, up for grabs, which I'll have Tom introduce in just a few moments, fail in comparison to the overall impact that this event and campaign will have for families. The proceeds of the National Lax-Off Against Cancer will directly support families nationwide and helping them to overcome the financial obstacles of their cancer battle. Additionally, proceeds will be utilized to also fund complimentary nights right here at Nick's house. As we spoke earlier, families from across the country are descending on Philadelphia, where we're based, to pursue these life-saving treatments. In fact, of the 4 families with us, we have families from 4 states. With that being said, you know, the range of our services are national, and that is why it's imperative to get teams from across the country to understand what a destination Philadelphia has become. One of the sole purposes of really building and constructing this new home was to be able to solve the dilemma facing more than 300 families a month, more than 3,600 families a year, you know, that are backed into a corner. And operating our first Nick's house since 2011, we found ourselves in a situation where we were turning away more families than we could accommodate. So with that being said, this seeks to unite, as Tom mentioned. This is an opportunity for lacrosse clubs throughout the country to come together, to compete off the field, and to really make a difference. Because 90 cents of every dollar of the Headstrong Foundation directly supports families. And so, Tom, would you be so kind to educate our viewers about the prizes for this year?
Yeah, and I think the most important, and Pat did mention this, is the opportunity to have a direct impact on families in need. And again, in seeing this place in person, it really is more than a worthwhile opportunity for club teams. In addition, each participant will get a certificate of excellence, and the winners will have the prestigious trophy we see over here, the Nicholas E. Calalori Trophy or Cup. I think it could be cup.
The cup.
Yeah, the cup. I like the cup.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a huge honor for any club. In addition, if they're interested, I can come and run a practice or some sort of event for whichever club is lucky enough to win, and an additional special Headstrong prize, which is yet to be revealed, which is very exciting and intriguing. So
yeah. So, like I said, at the end of the day, this is about working together and solving a problem for families. Families are trying to go to the ends of the earth for their loved one. They really don't understand what financial ramifications lie ahead of them. This is the world that Headstrong works every day. We are truly honored to have lacrosse as a support system. I tell people all the time that we understand all too well the generosity of the lacrosse community, as we've been a prime example of it. Having that opportunity to assist more than 15,000 families and change has been the privilege of a lifetime. And we're delighted that we have that special privilege. I will say that, our efforts start with, the loss of a loved one. I lost my younger brother, and it's something that for me continues to fuel a lot of what we do and continues to inspire many. I wish obviously every day that Nick was still here. However, I'm honored and delighted that he had the foresight and maturity to create Headstrong, because through his vision, so many others will have that opportunity to live on, and the legacy that he's left in the lacrosse community continues to unite, professional athletes, collegiate athletes, high school and youth athletes, and that shoestring, if you will, that shoelace that my brother envisioned from a hospital bed as our awareness item has certainly tied this community together. And we believe that this is the next step in that. So at this point in time, we want to extend our sincere gratitude to all of you. We want to encourage you to go to www.laxoffagainstcancer.org now and register your club. Take 2 minutes, register your club, and let's get this thing fired up and underway. And let's have an incredible inaugural year. And I'll turn it over to you for some closing remarks, and then we'll take Q&A from Inside Lacrosse.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone for watching. Headstrong is obviously a great organization, and this Lax-Off Against Cancer is a great way to get everyone else involved and to raise more awareness. So get your computers working and start signing up now.
Jake?
Excuse me. Headstrong is a great organization that helps many families in need. So this tournament would be very beneficial to everyone involved. Just register at www.laxoffagainstcancer.org, and that's it.
Thanks for tuning in, and like everyone said, let's get registered and let's get going.
Okay, so now Matt Kinnear from Inside Lacrosse is going to mediate our question and answers from some of our viewers.
Pat, thanks for having me. Obviously Inside Lacrosse and Headstrong go way back in support of what we can do for each other and for the lacrosse community. For this, for this tournament, for this fundraising opportunity, what clubs are eligible to do this? Is it just the best clubs? Is it just clubs regionally, or is it open to everyone, boys, girls, no matter the talent level or what?
That's one of the more special things about this campaign, this competition, and this bracket tournament, this fundraiser. This is open to all lacrosse clubs. Can't stress the importance of that enough. This is open to girls clubs, boys clubs, youth clubs, high school clubs, competitive clubs, etc. This is something that we want to unite the sport behind. This is something that, again, cancer doesn't discriminate, and we certainly value the influence and impact of clubs working together. So this is open to all lacrosse clubs nationwide.
Tom, this is a little bit more for you. You spoke a little bit about the aspect of building community, when you're and community service and the impact of that. As a pro now, how has doing community service, doing good in the community, how do you feel like that's impacted you down the line and kind of made you who you are today?
I think that stuff's important no matter who you are, no matter what your interests are, what you do for a living. I think specifically to lacrosse, though, I do think it's important as a sport, if we're trying to grow, and I think lacrosse is unique, and I'm sure, Pat, you'd agree with this, in that we can come together and we can unite around different causes, Headstrong being one. And I do think as a whole, as a sport, we are kind of fighting some stereotypes that anytime you're doing good in the community, in whatever your cause is, I think you're kind of helping to advance lacrosse. And I think the beauty of this campaign is it's, like I said before, it's uniting everyone for a cause that's personal for just about everybody. So it's for me personally, getting involved in something like this was a no-brainer, and I think in being around youth players and being around younger players trying to go to college and things like that, I do think it's super important, especially given the influence that these club teams have over certain players, to get them involved in things like this. And this is a super easy way and a super impactful way to do that.
Pat, you mentioned how we're all athletes, we're competitors at heart. What is the competitive aspect of this? How will one club be faced off against another within this opportunity?
Well, typically what will happen is that once the clubs have the ability, so right now registration is open, and we'll continue to have a rolling registration throughout the campaign up until the first week of June. So now is really the perfect opportunity to get clubs registered. And this comes at a good time when club directors are starting to have dialogue. Obviously, their summer plans have been committed. They know where they're playing. And this is something that teams can easily integrate into a parent or a kickoff meeting. Really, it becomes a matter of going through and trying to come up with some unique matchups and trying to, just like we do with Lax-Off, try to identify, numbers of participants and things of that nature to try to make it obviously as fair as possible. But it's part of the fun in this is to be able to allow clubs the ability to compete against maybe other clubs that they've never competed against on the field. And so I think we break down that barrier when we have programs, different girls programs going against boys programs, youth programs going against some elite level club teams. And with that being said, I want to stress the importance that the club itself competes not with individual teams, it's club specific. So despite the layers within the club, a club may have 22 teams within it. They compete as one club. So it's something that actually even unites the club, because I think there's always maybe some silos in that as well. I hope that helps explain that.
And what are the dates for the campaign again?
The campaign's actually going to officially kick off with the first round, June 1st. So that first weekend when club lacrosse is in full swing with summer tournaments, and it will actually conclude, there'll be 6 rounds, and it will conclude with a national champion being crowned on July 22nd, okay?
And if you're a club and you lose in that first round of fundraising, can you continue to raise funds, and are there other ways that you can continue to support Headstrong through this?
Certainly, and it's encouraged. We want to provide, we don't want to discourage people from getting behind the cause. At the end of the day, this is something that we hope is embraced, and even if for some reason someone gets bumped out of the competition, that it doesn't deter their interest or their efforts. We'll continue to approach it as if they weren't. But like I said, there is going to be a competitive aspect to it. But again, I don't want to fret upon, just turning it off because maybe that weekend you lost. Over that 6-week period, we want to embrace that as the opportunity for club lacrosse to unite and to help us tackle these problems for families affected by this disease. The other thing is that your fundraising efforts, as I had alluded to, are not exclusive to online. In fact, we actually encourage clubs to partake in offline contributions as well, and that can be achieved through different type of service efforts. We've had teams that organize car washes, and some will do like clinics with their communities and take funds and proceeds. We've had teams organize 27,000 shot challenges where that moves the needle for the organization. So there are ways. We don't want to limit creativity. So.
And how will Headstrong be kind of complementing, supporting these efforts along the way throughout this month, this campaign?
Like we've done with Lax-Madness, Headstrong will create a 6-week social content calendar. And we will interface directly with club programs and provide supportive resources, multimedia assets, videos, pictures, and social content. So it's as simple as clubs being able to share the link that is exclusive to their club within a post that we're providing to them. So it's really simple. They can use all levels of their social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and really, drive home a consistent message across the board. And they also can, make it personal. In fact, we have players that will pledge goals and assists, or maybe it's tournament wins, and ask for monetary contributions in conjunction with those things.
Headstrong is, we're sitting here in Nick's house. It's a gorgeous house, and it's serving this community and serving families that are affected by cancer. What are some of the ways that you guys are working directly with these families that are affected by cancer, and what is Nick's House?
Sure. So as I had mentioned, the Headstrong Foundation has operated Nick's House since 2011. Overwhelming demand forced us to consider an expansion. And so after 6 years and families from more than 18 states and 100% occupancy, we found ourselves turning away more families than we could accommodate. So the reality is that Headstrong provides, through Nick's House, complimentary lodging to families that are displaced in the region seeking life-saving cancer treatment. And many a times it comes at a time when a family has exhausted their resources in their backyard. Maybe treatment hasn't gone according to plan, and there's something that needs to be a little bit more, experimental or specialized that isn't available in their backyard. Nick's House provides extended stay care for both the patient and their caregiver. At this home, we provide up to 7 families with complimentary lodging, 2,500 nights of housing at no expense for families. Headstrong also, on a national level, provides direct financial assistance. And through things like our fighter funds and just events across the country, we really try to pride ourselves on keeping funds localized to where they're raised, by trying to identify families in those communities so that we can have a direct and immediate impact, and that supporters can feel good knowing that their support is staying, as local as possible. We also fund projects at hospitals to improve inpatient accommodations. So the services that we provide to families are direct in nature. We know what it's like to have to ask for help, and so we wanted to make things as easy as possible. We also provide mentorship and guidance. It goes far beyond sending care packages. It's really about communication. It's all about, extending an arm of support to a family that feels all alone. And I think the assurance of, making sure that families understand that they're not alone is part of our social responsibility. So everything that we do is about instilling normalcy. And again, this organization was conceptualized by my brother's life experience and that of his cancer journey and that of our family, alongside of the 15,000 other families that we've held the hand of this past 10 years.
One last time, just for everyone, what's the website? How can they go register? When can they register?
Sure.
How can they, get to action right now?
www.laxoffagainstcancer.org is the campaign page. It is up, it is live. You can register your page. You can begin fundraising today if you really wanted to. However, the competition will not go live until, as I had mentioned, June 1st. You can obviously follow us on all social media channels at HeadstrongFND. The hashtag we're going to be using for this is national. It's NTL Lax-Off Cancer is the hashtag. So NTL Lax-Off Cancer is the hashtag for this competition. You can obviously go to headstrong.org as well to learn more about the cause, to better familiarize yourself. We also have a YouTube channel which provides some wonderful videos that supporters can also use and share as the competition gets underway. So,
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Tom. And Kathleen and Jake, thanks for sharing your story.
thank you so much, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy day and night to spend some time with us here at Nick's House. And we look forward to having you as part of the National Lax-Off Against Cancer. Woo! Great job, guys. Great job.